Hello my dear friends. As I mentioned in my video building Crovan's Gate Station, I will be running a poll on my Patreon so that you can all vote on what you'd like to see next. It was a close call, but this first vote saw Skarloey become number 1. So here's how I modified him from the standard Bachmann model. In an old video, I mentioned that I'd waited so long to get one of these that I wasn't really brave enough to repaint it at the time. Out of the box, Skarloey is a pretty nice model, if you're going by the CGI version. Certainly better than Rheneas or Rusty ended up. Well, years have gone by and things have changed. I bought a second-hand body shell to maybe make a cabless version at some point. But once I got going, I thought it would be strange to have a high-detail 1864 Skarloey and not a matching present-day one. So it became the main. I still have the original body shell as is, but only one chassis to spare between them. If only there was a company out there working on a 3D print of number 1. I started by dissecting the Por engine into its individual components, and leaving the shell in a tub of Dettol. As a paint remover, you need anything with chloroxylenol in it, and in a matter of hours the CGI series pinky colour was gone. You might have to be careful with some plastics using this stuff, but as the Bachmann narrow gauge range is mostly white metal, we're all good. Next, I filed down the moulds of the handrails on the smokebox and tanks, and chopped off half of the metal blocking the cab windows. Being their first model, Bachmann clearly thought it needed the extra weight, but by their newer releases, realised that it's better to have the windows be unobstructed. Talyslyn only has one coal bunker, so a metal file is once again used to carefully cut down the driver's side bunker. Next really should have been primer, but I cracked on with the red paint instead. I used Rust-Oleum Deep Red as I thought it would look the part for a Railway Series look. When it had a couple of coats on, I realised that it looked a lot closer to the livery that Talyslyn was wearing at the time, so I went with that instead. That appearance was done to celebrate their 150th birthdays, as an estimation of what number 1 looked like when it first arrived in Tawin. So I figured that maybe Skarloey got repainted in the same way. New handrails were made from craft wire that I got from a bundle from Hobbycraft. I presume usually for making jewellery. It was twisted to shape using pliers and superglued on. I was lazy and didn't remove all of the paint from the smoke box, but when coated over it does accidentally look like it's been chipped by the heat. Then came the worst experience I've ever had with transfers. I used Light Railway Store's Talyslyn 150 sheets, following the instructions as best I could. Sadly, these transfers are extremely thin and fragile, so whenever I tried applying them, they just disintegrated before they were in position. Frustrated but refusing to be defeated, I went back to the old way, painting them by hand. I don't think I even had Tamiya masking tape at this point, but I definitely recommend it. Because here I went in freehand, starting with the white bordering on the outside. This was then tidied up with the black line. Then white and red again used to shape everything up. A toothpick was also handy to quickly scrape away any overspilled paint. Transfers are still recommended over this approach, but ones that work ideally. My painting here really isn't the neatest, and Skarloey is one I'd like to redo at some point because the corners aren't quite even. As a little tribute to the trouble I went through, the only bit of the transfers that stuck on the left cab side is still there now. Fox transfers were used to print out the name, though annoyingly this isn't the exact font used on Talos Lynn. At least they stayed on the model. I started in the middle and worked outwards to get the spacing correct. The number and works plates came from light railway stores, and these are very good quality, though they take a while to arrive. I'd used them on my previous Skarloey, but he has now been dethroned and stuck in the back of the drawer. Long live the king.
You aren't being a really useful engine.
The buffer beams were painted vermilion, the buffers themselves dark grey, and the crossheads painted Rust-Oleum silver to hide the fact that they're made of plastic. The band around the chimney goes into gold, and Skarloey is ready to hit the rails. It has been a few years since he was modified, but I'm still much happier having a Skarloey that I was brave enough to customise. 3 of the faces were from Sean O'Connor, back when they were on Shapeways, and the other expressions were actually hand sculpted by Mavis M. I don't know how they did this, but they even painted them as well, and they look great. I'd still love a Victorian era Skarloey with the blue and gold lining, but that will have to wait as there's so many other models I'd love to share with you all first. What do you want to see next? Out now, there's a brand new poll on my Patreon so that you can vote on what models should be showcased. Link in the description. Thanks for watching. Many thanks to my brilliant channel patrons: Alex Goodman, GBH Train, D0280 Falcon, Sean Tempest, Random Thomas Fan, Dark White 73, Andrew Dyack, Reese Lee Walter, Ryan RTS, Ewan Pentland, Steam Power 4472, and Firewind 10.